All right, so we're in the dorm areas. So let me just see if I can give you guys a little tour. Okay, I need to flip it. All right, so this dorm is actually where there was a one-legged woman who would walk at night. I never saw her, but I would hear the stepping down, and I realized now that was an introduction to the enemy in terms of fear and tormenting spirits. This place, there was a matron's office, and this is where my head was shaved. So you see a humiliation there, and demons of paranoia being introduced, and basically rejection, and what else now? Betrayal. Would also shower completely naked when we were little, 9 years old, in this area, and every time the watchman would be passing, would scream and run and hide. So you can imagine what was being introduced at that point. Innocently, obviously. Behind there you'll see the chapel, which I'll be able to visit and tell you a little bit more about it. In this, okay, these are bathrooms that were not there. So, all right, yeah, on that side, nothing really much happened. Actually, that was a good time in my life. Class 7, so it wasn't a very bad time. Yes, then what else? So basically, are you hearing about the introduction of demons and torment and the enemy? So then there is this dorm. So this dorm is where someone tried to introduce us to lesbianism in the name of secret friends. And looking back, you know, it seemed so innocent and all that. But again, I bless the Lord, because when my secret friend wanted to come and spend the night with me, somehow I just felt very, very uncomfortable about it. And I just did not go, but I didn't understand what it was. Of course, felt a lot, very guilty for letting her down and all that. But oh, how I bless the Lord as I look back. Down there is the kitchens and all, because the food was terrible. I ended up picking up a thing of not eating. And it's one of the things the Lord had to work on me, actually, in my adult life, of not eating. I would go for days without food. I was very, very skinny, very, very tiny. I remember being beaten for not eating. I also had ulcers anyway from pretty much immediately when I joined the school. And then here, where it says St. Mary Goretti, it was actually a sick bay. Some years ago, I managed to come and visit the nurse who had taken care of me, and I began to cry without understanding why. I had very bad malaria, I was hallucinating and everything, and she took care of me like a mom. Behind there are some graves. I'll not go there out of respect, but basically every time that a nun would die and they would be buried, for a week to 2 weeks would be screaming our heads off, you know, because demons would come and torment us in St. Lucy's dormitory, which at the time was called 844 dormitory. It was the newest dormitory, but because of the way it's upstairs, would then overlook into the what is it called, the cemetery. And yeah, so as I look back, I realized that what was actually happening through this time was the enemy trying to intimidate. And you know, now I begin to understand why the Lord led me last night to look at demons and how demons operate. He knew that I needed to know today, so that as we're pulling down foundations, we're pulling foundations with knowledge. I remember telling my mom about all this, and in Kikuyu land at the time, there were no such things as far as our home was concerned anyway. And my mom said I was making it up and all that. So what else? Yeah, we're back. The enemy will try to attack, but we'll continue going. Please don't get off. I want to show you a place where I learned to be nice, but not in a nice way. I learned to manipulate. So, of course, in such an environment, you learn to be a ninja, you learn to fight, you learn to be very, very aggressive if you come into such an environment from when you're 9 years old. So the enemy introduces fighting for yourself and standing for yourself and all that things that the Lord has had to teach me to learn to let him fight for me. So now here, I'm flipping the screen. There is the place where mandazis used to be sold. I remember the nun shouting, "Mandas, mandas, mandas, mandas." And the mandazis were not expensive, but I only used to get 50 shillings. So I learned between balancing everything, and thank God at the time I had no period. Hallelujah. Amen. Because nothing really could happen at that stage for me because of all the stress and just being malnourished. I learned to be very nice. so that someone could buy me mandazi. But then what niceness was it? It was actually learning to manipulate. So you could manipulate people, walk around their feelings and everything, and then when it was time for mandas, you're sweet and you're nice, and yeah. So tell you, yeah, things that the Lord enables you to understand, breaking foundations so that you can make them. So on this is the boarding area actually. So on the left and the right were very high fences with a trench. So whenever we would be caught at night walking these sides, by the nun, because you could not dare to be caught, even if you had gone to the loo, you would actually hide under the fence. Yeah, so I don't know what that was, but yes, I mean, it's fear, it's actually fear. Now in this dormitory here was my nicest time, because it was a posh dorm, it was for posh people, it had the people from Nairobi mostly, so it was actually a really, really nice time. Yeah, and then on this side, back to the place where there was a one-legged woman, I'm telling you, it was not a lie. There was a one-legged woman who used to walk around, but all she do is walk around, walk around, so people would see her and begin to scream, but for me, I would only hear, but I would not see her. So you just hear, come, and I would hold my breath and say as many Hail Marys as I could until she had passed. This is also the same dorm where a lady on one side ended up, ended up being attacked. Guys, you can move. Ended up being attacked by some demons that were shaking her bed violently, and I'd never really seen it. The lights were on, she was screaming. I thought it was a nightmare, but people were saying it's demons. So I remember finally when she got off, I still remember the lines on her neck that showed that something had actually been choking her. Then we won't be able to do the administration block, but basically I'll try and give you a little view. Then after this, we're going to go to the river where I used to fetch water and had to learn to fetch water and to work very hard. So there are good things, but mostly I realized the door of fear being opened in my life and basically just torment. But here's how God used these things. I'm now a deliverance pastor, so I've known demons for a long time, and I bless the Lord that the Lord has enabled me to overcome and learn that He's stronger. So this classroom is where there was one other Kikuyu girl, the only other Kikuyu girl, so I'd be sent to go and ask her questions if I didn't know the name of things, and that is the school, much better than it used to be at the time. On that side is a place where we were lined up on a whole day and beaten from morning to evening until basically we'd be beaten and would not feel anything because we had collapsed. Again, intimidation and fear. And even my friends who have come with my prayer partners, they were saying one thing, total fear. You can feel the intimidation and the fear.